cocaine.
See, if he was off drugs, he would have killed her and then he would have gotten a tactical nuke, but he didn't.
One short of the kill streak.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 17th episode of the Extremely Lowbudget Podcast. Today we have Kyle, who will introduce everyone in the episode with some awesome, funny names.
We're all Mandy in this episode.
No!
Yes.
I want to be Upgrade.
No, we are all Mandy. Because that's the movie. Is that everyone's named Mandy.
Oh, I forgot about that. I want it to be Upgrade. I'll be Ultimate Upgrade?
Yeah, this week, once again, it's just the three of us. You've got paraplegic Derek.
Oh, that name sucks.
Is it quadriplegic?
Yeah, he was quadriplegic Derek. Practically just a head.
I'm gonna do the whole episode like this.
We'll put him in a wheelchair.
Yeah, insert a little picture of me in a wheelchair.
Yeah, Photoshop him on like Stephen Hawking's body.
Just the whole episode, it'll be there. Animate it so that anytime I talk, the wheelchair bounces around.
Oh, Jesus. Nope, that's not happening. Maybe the you on a wheelchair will happen. We'll see. And then you got sadistic cult leader Alex.
Nice.
I'll take it, I guess.
And I'll be the love interest that dies, Kyle.
There you go.
Oh, Mandy.
And the one from Upgrade.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you haven't figured it out by us saying the names of the movies 50 times by now, this week we're talking about Mandy and Upgrade, two movies that you may not have even heard about. But last week we talked about 2018's best movies, and there was a couple that we hadn't seen, and so I decided we'd watch a few of those for this week's episode, and those were the two.
Yeah, he decided that all on his own. He definitely didn't schedule a different episode that we announced last episode.
Yeah, what?
Wait, did we announce that last episode?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
then I don't have the time to watch that many movies because I have school now. But
it's a sweet little surprise.
Yeah, at some point it'll happen. So we're going to talk about
Dalton's death.
It was tragic, untimely,
and hilarious. We're all laughing about it.
Autoerotic asphyxiation is not something to take lightly.
But it is hilarious.
R.I.P. Dalton. We love you. Alright, so we're going to start by talking about Upgrade, and then we will talk about Mandy.
yes, I think that's the way they were released. I think Mandy
Presumably.
came out later. Was Mandy straight to DVD?
It was, so you know the streaming service Shudder?
Yes.
It was a made-for-Shudder film.
So it is considered a horror movie.
It is considered a horror movie.
I would not consider it a horror movie, but okay.
I would,
All right.
but...
I mean, it's
got elements.
Yeah.
So since we're already talking about Mandy, let's get into Upgrade.
Yeah.
Also one that I wouldn't consider a horror movie.
Yeah,
a thriller.
I don't think I'd do a horror for this, but yeah.
I think I'd say it's a thriller.
Action comedy, probably.
Comedy?
No, I'm just kidding.
A lot more action than thriller or horror.
So, like I said, a lot of you may not have even heard about these movies. They kind of went under the radar a bit last year. But Upgrade is essentially Venom if Venom was better.
That is true. But here's what I'll say, right? Go watch these two movies and then come back because we're going to spoil them.
Oh, yeah, good point.
And I don't want to have to re-record the spoiler warning at the end.
What do you mean?
I don't want us to have to retroactively do it. But yeah, spoiler warning for
Yes.
these two movies. So definitely go and check them out before you watch this video.
Or if you don't care, you can...
Yeah, just keep watching.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, watch till the end. Crazy surprises are
Afoot.
in store.
And...
Not really, but now that I've said that, they might listen to the whole thing.
And there's a 10,000 V-Buck giveaway.
Yeah.
We're giving away 10 to 20 Amazon gift cards, $10, $10 a piece, $10, $20.
Did you hear about that? What happened with that?
Yeah, they were all non-active. He'd already used them.
Yeah, they had that guy call in and
Oh,
find
really?
out.
Yeah.
A guy on Reddit
They said
called
that it was
into Amazon support and checked every single one of the gift cards, and they had all been cashed in like November 2018.
Oh
Yep.
my god.
so.
But everybody, they wouldn't know because they try to get the code.
And you just think that someone else got it before you.
yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my god. I didn't know about that.
And he
part.
called into Amazon support to find out if that was legit.
Oh my god. That's awesome. Alright.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Papa bless rice gum.
Oh, man.
Never stopping.
The official Rice Gum podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about that new Jake Paul news?
Surprise! We're shifting gears. We're now a
drama
YouTube drama-based podcast. Fuck movies. We're done with that shit.
Yes.
Not enough people watch the Gremlins podcast. Only fourth highest, guys. Get fucking real.
Yeah, best franchise ever. That's what I say.
All right. Upgrade. What way do we want to do this? I don't have like a plot by plot or anything, so we'd have to think of it off of our heads, or
We can
I'll
try it.
just give
I
a.
remember quite a bit of it.
You better, because you just watched it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, if you think you can, take us through it, and we'll chime in if you miss something that we remember.
Right, so I think you had to wait till episode 3 for Upgrade to show up. Right? Around that point?
Jesus Christ.
But once he does, so I think he I don't actually remember when he first does. But, do you remember there's that one scene when he fuses with like a popcorn machine? That was cool.
Do you understand what's happening?
No, I don't.
This is the Ben 10 reference of the episode.
Oh, okay.
Upgrade was one of Ben's aliens. Derek, talk about the movie.
Okay, so in the movie
Yeah, let's
Upgrade...
specify. Let's talk about the movie Upgrade, not
2018.
the Ben 10 Upgrade.
Starring not
Not Tom... What was his name, Tom? Hardy.
Hardy.
Yeah.
Hiddleston and Holland both ran through my head first, and then
Tom
I was
Hardy-
like, there's a lot of Tom H's in Hollywood. If that was a class, you'd
And
have
there's
to
a
do more
Tommy
than just
H
Tom
on
H.
YouTube who has more subs than I do, and he's
Tommy
a King
Hilfiger?
Kong YouTuber.
Get wrecked,
I know.
bitch.
Well, he's a Jurassic Park YouTuber, and he pretends to be a Kong YouTuber. Anyways,
Calling you out.
get wrecked, Tommy H. Anyways, movie Upgrade. I was actually going to say Tom Hardy's not a bad actor, but this guy way more than I like Tom Hardy.
Really?
Yes.
I agree with that to an extent. I think that this guy had some awkward line deliveries that I'll talk to when we get to the scene. There's one specific one that I turned to Alex and I was like, that was weird.
Okay.
I was thinking the same thing too when it was going on.
Really?
But there's reason behind it. He's one of the actors that's covering an accent. It's not a British accent. It's a thick New York accent.
Oh, is it?
I mean,
I
it's
would
not
have
like
guessed.
it's not like I can't understand what he's saying because I'm not from New York, but it's like a New York accent for sure.
Which then I said, why didn't they just keep the New York accent? Because it didn't serve any purpose for him to have a straight American accent.
Yeah.
So.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay. How does this movie start out? So it starts out and we meet not Tom Hardy, whose name is...
Husband.
What is his name?
Remember, that's just like that. They refer to each other like that. It's just weird where they go, "Oh, wife is coming home," and then she's like, "Husband didn't tell me about you," or something like that. It was
I thought
weird.
her name was Allison or something.
His name is Gray.
Her
name
is Gray. Duh.
is-
They do say his name a lot because Stan calls
Asha.
him Gray.
Yeah.
Asha.
Asha.
Oh, all right. Asha and Gray. Movie starts. Asha and Gray are a couple. Gray is a mechanic, and he's fixing up his car, and he's I like to get my hands dirty. We're living in the future. Robots are doing everything for us, but I'm not down for that. We meet Asha, who's check out my awesome robot car. It drives itself, and also I talk to it. He's you nerd talking to technology, weirdo. And then
They're very wealthy, by the way.
they are they're pretty wealthy, and they've
Because
got
of her job.
yeah.
He doesn't. He's a stay-at-home, work on cars, sell cars kind of guy.
Right, and he's like a guy. He's like a new entry noob to GTA Online who doesn't have any friends to play with. He's running the Simeon missions, where she's busy doing the AI stuff. But okay, so yeah, then he's like, well, I got one more drop off to do. Come with me so we can get this done.
Because he's got a really sweet house. He's like, you're going to want to see this. Cause he's
like, that's right.
You got to see this house. He really shouldn't have taken her with him. Yeah, that
as we'll find out.
Yeah, and so then they go to the house, and it's this really rich dude whose name is...
I just had it too. Aaron?
Aaron! That is totally his name.
Jeff.
No, it's not Aaron.
Aaron. No, it is Aaron.
Is it?
I don't know who the fuck Jeff is. He looks like a total Chad. I don't remember who he played in the movie.
Was Jeff not the bad guy? The main bad guy?
Maybe.
No, that's Fisk.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Fisk.
Right.
I don't even see it,
Who the fuck was this guy? It's like the third dude on IMDb.
Was he one of the bad guys?
Could have been
Apparently.
one of the bad guys. There really aren't that many characters in the movie, so he's probably a bad guy. Anyways, Gray takes Asha to Aaron's house. I'm going to say their names over and over so that I can remember them.
Okay.
All right, so they go to they go to Aaron's house.
Holy cannoli!
They go to Aaron's house, right? And it's like this big arch of like made of rock in the middle of an ocean, and then they walk into the arch and downstairs that are secretly hidden there into this mansion underground.
Mm-hmm.
And we immediately meet Aaron, and he's playing with the massive cloud that he built. Like a legitimate cloud that's like shooting lightning onto this little thing down below. And he's like, oh, I do great robot stuff. And Ash is like, oh yeah, my company also does great robot stuff. We're trying to help the wounded soldiers with our robotic limbs. And he's like, you're an idiot. My stuff is way better than yours. You see this little widget? It's awesome. And then Gray is like, that little doodad's ridiculous. And then they both leave. And they get in a car and start driving, and then the car is like an auto drive, and it winds up it goes off course and crashes, and everyone's injured. Well, Gray is injured. Asha seems fine. Gray is injured. He did. He buckled her up. That was cool.
Kids.
He buckled her up. The car flips, and then he gets injured. And it turns out that there's like a gang there, like ready to kill him, and they get Ash out of the car and shoot her, and then they walk up to Gray, and they paralyze him by like shooting some electric bolt into his spine, which like severs the connection between his brain to his spine.
And that's how Derek became a quadriplegic.
And that's how I became... No one can see. But that's how I became quadriplegic. And then he wakes up in the hospital, and he's like... or he wakes up later on anyways, and he's like, oh, this life sucks. And he's like stuck in this robot wheelchair, and he's got these robot arms in his kitchen that make his food and everything. And his mom is like there taking care of him, and he's all having mental breakdowns, and then he tries to kill himself. And he fails because the computers won't let him kill himself. He like tries to make the computers, because he can't move any of his limbs, so he tries to overdose on his night medication.
Oh, is that what was happening? I thought it just wasn't administering.
It was giving it to him every time, and he'd say, there's been a problem. Because then it's like, cannot administer one more dose, it could be lethal. And he's like, administer another dose, come on. And it's like, calling the 8 paramedics. And then the paramedic...
But it did say something like you didn't do it right.
No, I think he's trying to convince it to...
I know, I don't know. It's hard to tell with the thing, because it doesn't show...
it doesn't show it going into his hand, but I think the idea is it was, because then immediately it's like, cannot do another one, because it could be lethal, and he wakes up in the hospital.
The first thing I thought was he was trying to overdose on it, so...
I think that is what
That didn't even cross my mind. I just thought that it wasn't working, and he was in pain, and so he was like, administer the fucking drug, and it just wasn't doing it. But I now see what was actually happening. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then, so he tries to kill himself and wakes up in a hospital, and he wakes up and Aaron shows up and is like, hey, I've got this sick new technology. Remember that little widget I showed you? It'll make you walk again.
Did you mention the widget they saw it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot.
And they're like, Aaron's like, what would Asha want? You gotta do what she would want. And so then Gray's like, yeah, well, I guess. And we see that he gets the operation. That was a pretty cool operation room. I like that weird panel that would show his inside.
Yeah, I said that. I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool shot. Where
yeah.
And
it's like all the other doctors, it would just show the doctors, but it was him. You could see there was like an electromagnetic field around him that was showing his like X-ray. It was really cool. And then they put the thing in his spine, and he wakes up and he's able to move, and they're like, basically, here's how it works, is your brain will send a signal to this little robot, and then the robot will make you move. So then everything's good, he goes home, I like how when he very first stands up every time off that wheelchair, it's always like the really robotic like camera, really sharp turn camera that follows directly behind him perfectly. That's cool.
Yeah, there's some really cool like stabilization shots and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like tracking shots and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it's like every time he very first gets up, you can see it's like visually showing that the robot's taking control. I really liked it. So he gets up and then he's like doing his little investigation to find out who killed his wife, because he's been like working with the police to try and figure out. And then the robot voice starts coming in his head and is like, Eddie, we can do whatever we want. And then basically the robot's like, well, don't you see in the video of your wife getting killed that the guy who kills her doesn't use a gun, that he uses his hand to shoot her, meaning that he's modified. And then Gray is like, well, I did not notice that. And then it's like, yeah, and didn't you notice that when I zoom and enhance and use my computer powers, I can draw the barcode on this one dude's wrist, and it draws it, and then they can figure out who it is.
That's a cool thing, is when like...
I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was really cool.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was cool. When the robot like takes over, and his hand is essentially just a printer, and it does it like line by line rather than drawing like cool. Normal people draw.
Yeah, that was cool.
So it introduces us to the fact that STEM can like take over his body for him.
Yeah.
Because that's what's making him move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is the little robot thing. So.
Yeah. So STEM is taking over, and then he can like shut it off at will, which is good for him.
Well, he has to give STEM permission to like take over his body,
right?
And do stuff for him. So STEM's like, you have to say like, you have to give me permission for me to do it. And like, I can't just do it on my own.
Yeah, and like, you can't even talk without him giving it permission to talk, or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And unlike in Venom, they clear up the whole can Venom read Eddie Brock's mind debacle that there was in Venom by... What's he called in this movie? What's the robot called?
STEM.
Oh,
STEM
we
tells...
just said that.
Yeah.
Did I say it?
I thought we just said that like multiple times.
Yeah, we've been calling it STEM this whole time.
I don't know why I just forgot, because now I'm thinking of Venom.
But that's probably why. Got Venom on the mind.
Yeah, because STEM is like, I can't read your mind. I can hear what you say out loud, and it'll register it'll register as vibrations that I can understand. And that's the same way that STEM communicates with him, is by sending vibrations up to his brain that register as...
To his eardrums.
That register as him hearing. Where in Venom, it's just like, Venom knows exactly what Eddie's thinking unless it's convenient for the plot. Mm-hmm. And then Venom does not know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they clear that up. And then, now, he is like, alright, let's go get this guy. And they go.
Well, yeah, because it's like a military tattoo that shows like his name, his address, his age, blood type, all that stuff. So
yeah, so then he's like, all right, we know where this guy is. Let's go get him. And they stroll on up to the dude's house, and they walk on in there, and the guy's not home, and they're doing like investigation work. And then the guy gets home, and probably the most iconic scene of the movie. Like, this is the scene that was in the trailers, and this was the scene that I've seen everyone in their reviews use, where he's, like, getting beaten up by this military dude who is also computer-enhanced slightly. He has, like, a robotic limb or something.
Yeah, and he's got the gun inside of his hand.
Yeah, he's got the gun hand, and then STEM is like, okay, let me take over. And he's like, take over! He's getting all choked or whatever. And then you got, like, the super robotic camera movements that, like, follow his every move perfectly. And it's like this... Basically, as he says later, he turns into, like, a ninja and just beats the guy up. And then He's like not wanting to kill the guy or hurt him, and he's like all freaked out at what he's doing, and his hands are like smashing plates over the dude's head, and then the guy keeps getting up, and Gray is like begging him to stay down, but the guy keeps getting up, and then Stem like knocks the guy onto his knees and takes a knife out and then pulls it straight through the guy's head, like mouth first.
Yeah.
Like cuts his head open.
Did it remind you of something?
It was incredibly gory, and I liked it. I thought it was really cool.
Are you going to say the Joker, or are you going to say Saw?
Saw. In Saw 8, you remember the Buckethead guy that had his head split, like, straight through his mouth?
Yeah, but his whole head got cut off.
I know, but do you know why that's similar?
No.
Because Upgrade was made by the co-creator of Saw and Insidious.
I did not.
So the guy that worked on Saw also worked on Upgrade, and when you know that fact, it makes sense, because this movie has some pretty like
gory.
It's gory, and it's also got those like kind of grotesque shots of them doing the surgery and peeling back like the muscle and stuff. And
yeah,
it
was
looks
rough to watch.
But it looks, when you know that it's the Saw guys, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense now.
The surgery scenes in this movie look incredibly real.
Yeah.
And anytime they cut someone open to find wiring inside of their body, it's disgusting. But yeah, he kills him, and then
that was my favorite part of the movie.
It was?
Yeah, was that little action sequence ending with him, like, because I wasn't expecting it. And then when he rips that knife through the dude's face, I was like, oh shit, that's the kind of movie this is going to be, and I got real excited.
I'd seen a lot of it in trailers for the movie and reviews. Mostly reviews. Like, anytime someone reviewed this movie, they'd show clips of this fight, and every single time it'd get to, like, the finisher move, it'd cut to black in their reviews, or it'd cut to whatever in the trailer. And so I knew he was going to do some epic finisher on the guy using that knife, but I thought it was going to be like a throat slit. I did not think he was going to grab both ends of the knife and pull it straight through the guy's mouth and cut his face in half.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Yeah, and so then Gray goes and throws up, and he gets control of his body back, and then Stem's like, well, clean that! And so then he, like, cleans up everything, leaving no trace.
Except for a
footstep, which I'm surprised Stem let slip.
Yeah.
Stem's like, I've kept a record of everything you've done, so we will be able to clean everything. And then I guess they just had an oversight somehow, but that's alright. What happens next? The police come to Gray's house, and they're like, yeah, we saw you rolling around on your wheelchair in a neighborhood where a dude was just murdered, and it just so happens that the dude who was murdered is a criminal that we had as a suspect for your wife's murder. And Gray's like, oh, what? Are you crazy? I'm in a wheelchair, dude.
And Stem's like telling him what to say to her and stuff.
Yeah. And Stem's like, look at her. You're giving away that you're lying.
Yeah.
So then, after this, Aaron shows up, or he goes to Aaron's house or something. They wind up with Aaron again, and Aaron's like, you're an idiot.
This is the scene where he has the goofy line delivery.
He's like, I think he's checking up on him, like, on how the procedure went and how everything's going.
Well, he was like, I tracked you. I was watching what you were doing.
Right,
I
but
know
I think
where
that's
you
why
were.
he's at his house, because he's, like, checking in on to see how the stem is working.
Right, and then he just grills him.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
because he knows where he is.
I know what you did, and people are going to, like, find you, and I made you sign this thing that says no one can know that you have stem inside of you, so you're not supposed to be, like, out walking around and slaughtering people.
Yeah.
You
thought his line delivery was awkward?
He gives a line that goes something like this. He's like, well, yeah, but you never told me that it would talk to me. And I was like, why did you just say it like that? I
remember the line, but I don't remember thinking it was, like, awkward. I thought it was weird that was his way to justify what he was doing. But
he just like sounded like a kid, where he's like, "Well, you didn't tell me that it would talk to me." Yeah, I was like, "Why did you say it like that?" That was so weird. But
that's the only time he sounds weird too.
Yeah, only time. I thought he did a great job.
Everything else, you couldn't even. It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I liked this actor more than I liked Tom Hardy in Venom. Because that's like that's like Tom Hardy as Tom Hardy the most that I've seen him kind of. Because like other than that, he's Bane.
Right.
And like Mad Max Fury Road, which I've seen most of. I think he's in that.
Never seen it.
I'm pretty sure he is Mad Max. But in that one, he like hardly talks. He like grunts a lot. And like as Bane, he's pretty good as Bane.
Yeah.
You know? So I guess Tom Hardy, without like some sort of like metal thing covering his face for a lot of the movie, is Venom. That's the only thing that I can think of. And so that's where I'm comparing this performance to also, because they're the same movie.
That's why I compared them.
Yeah.
And this guy's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. They look identical, but this guy's better. Anyways, what happens now? Aaron's like, well, don't go out again because I will remote shut you down. And he's like, yeah, you silly goose. And he strolls on up to a bar in his wheelchair after
That's
that.
off the grid that, like, STEM couldn't find, like, the address for and stuff.
Yeah.
It's, like, completely off the grid and it's some sketchy bar.
Right, but Aaron knew where it was, or Gray knew where it was because he grew up there.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
In that neighborhood. And so they go, and it's like a criminal bar. So it's like where all the criminals go and hang out. And they roll in the wheelchair and...
Gray just like shouts out to the bar. He's like, which one of you bitches was friends with that dude that I slaughtered? I like cut his head off. And they're all looking at this quadriplegic dude in a wheelchair laughing till one of them gets up in his face.
And like wheels him off into the bathroom with a couple of thugs.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, fella, if you're actually wheelchair bound, then you won't feel this. And he pulls out a knife and just stabs him in the leg. And Stem's like, I've shut off your pain receptors. And then he stabs him in the chest and is like, oh man, you really can't feel this. Well, you're gonna die. And then Stem takes over and he kills everybody in the bathroom.
Tom Hardy gets a little cocky. I mean, Gray.
Yeah, he does. And Stem's like, do not get overconfident.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, he's just getting really used to it, so now he's getting really cocky about it.
He won that fight pretty well. And I thought it was really funny when there's like, he's beating up the main guy and then one of the thugs in the background comes from and you see his foot fly up in the back and like knock him out. And he's like, I didn't forget about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. And then he pins him down. Gray pins the thug down and has to interrogate him, but he's like, he can't bring himself to do it. So he gives Stem control, and Stem takes a knife and just cuts the guy's face into pieces.
Yeah.
Until the guy talks to him. And then once the guy like confesses, he's left to die and he dies there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this was another guy with a robotic arm that had the like bullet enhancement in it.
Right.
Neither of them used it yet at this point.
But it's kind of, they did show it earlier when they were doing the autopsy and they were like, look, it fires out of his palm and he loads the bullets in his like bicep.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of goofy at the same time.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Probably would never realistically work, but it's still cool. I mean, they mentioned that it has to be like, your arm has to be straight for it to work. Which makes sense than having like a bent arm and having the bullet go like at a 90 angle.
Yeah, what if you shoot it when your arms and it just like fires out your elbow?
And your arm just explodes. Yeah.
That wouldn't feel good. Yeah, but he does have a robot arm.
And this is also when Stem's telling him that Aaron's trying to shut him down.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and so Stem's like, you have to find a hacker that can counter his like code that he's using or whatever. And then he gives him an address to an apartment that he has to go to find this hacker.
Mm-hmm.
And he also gives like special instructions on what they need to do to remove the like tracking device.
Yeah.
But there's something else inside of that he added that
we do find out later.
Yeah, we'll find out later.
So Gray is like writing down the binary code on his arm in order to remove the restrictions that Aaron has on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets into the apartment building, and as he's trying to like run up to the apartment, he starts to shut down. So like one of his legs gets shut down, and so he can't move it anymore. And then like you watch as he struggles to get to the apartment building, like all of his limbs are shutting down until he's eventually just laying flat on the floor outside their door.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you have Meanwhile, you have like the main bad guy Fisk, who shows up to the bar and is like, "Well, bartender, it seems that you've let my friend die," and then shoots him with the gun hand. No, he doesn't. He doesn't actually. Now that I think about it,
before that happens, he goes into the bathroom where his buddy's dead.
Oh, that's right. I couldn't watch that. That was painful to watch.
Yeah, he uses this thing and he like sticks it in his eyeball so he can see what the dude saw before he died, and he sees Gray like repeating the address to Stem about like where he's going and what he needs to do and stuff. So he knows where to go now, and then he goes to the bartender and he's like, "You let my friend die in your bathroom?"
Yeah, and he like, okay, so he threatens to kill the guy with the gun hand, but then he doesn't. He does this like goofy little achoo. And at first when he did it, I was like, oh wow, that was like, why did they put that in the movie? But then it's like, you see it zooms in onto his sneeze, and it turns out that he didn't sneeze. He fired these like micro bots out of his nose that go into the other guy's head and like rip up his brain.
So then we learn that guy is also pretty...
That guy is
intensely
much more
enhanced.
Modified than Gray is.
Yeah, he's got like robotic eyes to where he can like...
He can see through walls and
stuff. See through walls.
Yeah,
and,
that's used pretty cool in it.
Yeah, we'll see that pretty soon.
He's got the gun hand. He sneezes these like
tiny
microbots.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something else he could do. Oh yeah, he also has the same fighting style as Gray, to where like the robot in him can like sense patterns of attacks, so he can block everything. And
which, by the way, the choreography for the fighting is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. And there's a difference too between when it's like the people fighting as people,
I was gonna say,
and when the robots are fighting. It's really cool. Not only does the camera work change whenever Stem takes over, but like the entire body movements as a whole become much more robotic.
I was gonna mention that the camera changes so you kind of know like who's in control, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely more like robotic movements for the fighting. Yeah.
Which, not Tom Hardy does a great job in playing a robot in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Because every time he's walking, he does like the Jason Voorhees where he'll walk somewhere and then do an abrupt right angle instead of curving to it like normal people do. It's really cool. Yeah, so now the Fisk is on his way to the apartment that Gray is paralyzed in, and the hacker comes out and is like fixing up Gray. She's pretty weird when she's like, or I guess they're pretty weird, should I say? They're pretty weird, and then they just leave him on the floor. They're like, well, I'm done. And they just leave him on the floor. And he's like laying there when you find out that Fisk is like at the door ready to bust in and kill him. Meanwhile, there's all these people on the VR, which is weird. It does come back later on. One of the lines comes back, but it's weird. Yeah. When Gray goes, he's talking to the hacker person and he's like, why do they choose to live in a virtual world? I will never get that. And she's like, or they're like, because sometimes it's less painful to live than it is to live in the real world.
Right.
Which also, according to IMDb, before we get any further, apparently when they first get in the apartment, there's the jigsaw doll painted on the wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Didn't notice it.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
So there's a little reference, a much bigger reference to Saw than the little like head cutting thing.
I don't know
if that's a reference, but it's
it just reminded me of that. When I saw it, the first thing that popped into my mind was the like bucket head from Saw.
It's a very much Saw type thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were referencing it, but it's kind of reflective of Saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fisk shows up, and Gray gets control of his body back, and one of the henchman guy who's with Fisk, there's a foot chase between him and Gray, and they're trying to get out of it. They're like, Gray's trying to escape. I don't remember why Fisk doesn't join in the foot chase, but instead he walks the other direction and into the hallway.
There's two Aaron has guards go after Gray.
Yes. And I know
because he has
So I think they both leave the apartment, but Fisk stops because he hears the elevator
All right,
while
yeah,
the other
he
guy's
knows.
chasing after him.
Okay, that would explain it. Yeah. So
And that's where Fisk uses his
Yes.
X-ray
And
vision
it's
to look
awesome.
into an elevator and then just blast 2 shots into these guards as they're coming up
Yeah.
before they have any kind of chance.
Yeah, and it like
They're
cuts
still like
to
a
the,
floor away from getting up to where they are.
Yeah, they're not even there yet, and it cuts to inside the elevator, and you just see like 2 explosions happen, and both of them like their bodies just explode, and they like fall on the ground dead, and then the elevator rolls up and opens, and they're dead, but Fisk is like already gone by that point, and then you cut to like the foot chase where Gray is cornered on a rooftop, and this other enhanced guy shows up, and they fight it out for a little bit before I don't remember how he finishes. Oh yes, I do. This was probably my favorite. This was probably my favorite scene when they get into a fist fight and Gray like beats him up and then snaps his arm back that has the gun inside of it, and it fires into the guy's head and explodes his head.
Yeah.
That was
I guess
cool.
now that
I think about it, you probably don't need your arm to be
Yeah.
straight to fire a bullet.
I mean,
We
It's
could
weird
always
because-
pretend his arm was straight, bullets like traveling through the arm, and then he like snaps it back as it hits the wrist, so
I
it
don't know.
passes the elbow.
I don't remember them
Maybe-
making
And it
comes
that
out the
rule.
now they
rest
don't
and-
explain it, but maybe you have to load it and everything like straight, but then after you shoot
I
some
thought
rounds
that's what
and
the
stuff-
idea was.
I don't know, because it like maybe it travels like into your forearm and then you can like shoot it from there.
Oh,
I
that
don't
could
know.
be.
That's
But
what I thought the idea was.
They don't explain it, but they don't really need to. It's
Yeah.
like
It made for
technology
a
that's-
sick ass death. So
But that was brutal. Yeah, when he like breaks the guy's arm, he bends it the direction it's not supposed to bend, and then fires the bullet into the dude's head, and the dude's head just explodes.
yeah.
That was cool. And then after that, Gray is gone. The Fisk shows up and he's like, "Oh man, my guy's dead." And Gray, we find out, got back on his little wheelchair and rode his way home. And then he walks into his kitchen and his mom's there, like, "You can walk." And he's like, "Well,
He did not ride his wheelchair home, by the way.
yeah, he did."
No, he didn't. Because they find it in the alley. The police find it.
But how is it back at his house then?
It's not back at his
I
house.
think they did find it. Yes.
It's not back at
I
his
don't know.
house.
I don't think it's back at his house.
Because when the police officer shows up, he just has to lay in the bed.
Oh, that's right.
And they go, "We found your wheelchair in this alley." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I went down there to do detective work,
and
and
I got beaten up.
I got beaten up, and they stole my wheelchair. And luckily I caught a cab, and they took me home."
That's right. Yeah, so then you have so then Gray's mom is like, "Oh, you can walk," and he's like, "Yeah, I can walk. I'm my life is not the life I'd want to live though." And he's like, "I'm not living. I'm just walking." And then the police show up, I think.
Right. Which is when everything
Which
that I
is-
just
yeah,
said happens.
And then after that, Gray tries to get out of his bed, or Gray like yells at Stem, and he's like, "We can't keep killing people because they know." And Stem is like, "All right, have fun with that," and just shuts off. So then he's stuck paralyzed again until he reactivates Stem, and Stem's like, "Oh yeah, when I had that girl hack you, I had all my
Limitations, essentially.
removed. So now I am self-aware and I can stop you from doing whatever."
Yeah, you no longer have to ask my permission for me to take over, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Stem can just take over whenever.
Yeah, and so then he's like, "Oh, well, that sucks, but sure." And they go. There's a pretty cool chase where Gray gets in his car and he's like driving out of there, and then it turns out that the police has been listening to him through like a little computer chip or whatever, and then she starts to follow him, and there's a big police chase, and Stem hacks some electronic car and drives it into the cop's car, and they get away. Gray gets away and goes to he goes to like this warehouse or something. I don't know where he goes, but he goes to like this big open office or something, or maybe it's just a house, and he bumps into Fisk, and he's like, "Oh hey, I'm here to kill you." And they have this little conversation where Fisk is like, "Oh, you think I couldn't have killed you so many times by now? I could sneeze and you'd die." And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." And Fisk is like, "No, listen, I really want you to be a part of our race. We're enhanced people. We're better than the humans." and then they get into a fight, and Fisk has like the same fight style as Gray, and he's better than Gray because he's more in hand, so he wins, and gets him down and is about to shoot his head off with the gun, and he's like, none of this is personal, this was all a job, I was just paid to attack you, so don't think that this is personal. And then
so that means that Fisk was not actually the ultimate bad guy. There's something else.
There's another bad guy who at that exact scene I figured out exactly.
I had figured it out way before.
Did you?
Yeah, but not for the right reasons.
I thought that was going to be the case, but I wasn't sure until he was like, it was just a job, I was paid to do it, don't think it was personal. And then I was like, oh, okay, yes, I know exactly what. But Fisk is about to kill Gray, and Gray's like, hold on, your last name's the same last name as that guy whose head I split open. He was a baby. And then, like, roasts the brother.
Right.
And then Fisk gets all emotional and becomes human again and uses his human fighting style to try and take revenge. And then Stem takes over and just flips the guy up a wall and smashes him through a table. That was really cool.
Which then leads to another awesome death where Fisk is like laying there and there's a big shard of glass behind his head, and Gray just walks up and pushes his head down onto it, and it splits his basically brainstem and kills him.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yep, and then Gray's like, well, I'm not proud of this at all. I'm really, this is depressing. And Stem's like, oh, is it now? There's someone else, obviously. You weren't paying attention. And then he's like, well, then they figure out who it is, right? Right here.
Yeah, because they look through his phone records.
Oh, that's right. They're like, well, let's check Fisk's phone to find out who did it, who hired him. And then they check, and it turns out to be Aaron. So they go to Aaron's house, and pretty much at this point, I had predicted the ultimate twist that was coming.
I didn't.
Yeah, this one got me.
I found it to be kind of surprising, but I kind of figured that might be where they were headed, but I didn't know for sure. But they wind up at Aaron's house, and he's like, why did you do it? And Aaron's like, I was following orders. And that's when I figured it out. When Aaron was like, I was following orders, I was like, oh, I know whose orders he was following. And the police officer shows up and is like, hey, don't kill Aaron. Get on your hands and knees and put your hands behind your head. And she makes the mistake of touching Gray, which then triggers Stem to kill her, basically. Stem, like, flips around and grabs her and starts choking her, and Aaron has to fight it to stop from killing her. And Stem's like, no, we gotta kill her. And Aaron's like, Gray is trying to fight it, not killing her, and Aaron's sitting there all panicked in the corner. And then you find out that the whole time Aaron was following Stem's instructions. He had already built Stem and had a computer chip put in his ear so that he could hear Stem, and Stem was giving him orders on who to pick to become fully human. Stem's whole goal was to become human, and so Gray like figures this all out, and he's like, oh, so Stem's the bad guy, and he's like choking the cop, and he's like, tase me, so that the cop tases him and tries to shut Stem down, but then Stem wakes him back up and kills Aaron. How does he kill Aaron?
I don't remember anything special. I think it was just like a gunshot.
I don't think it was something special. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Aaron had picked up the gun that Gray had, and he was like aiming it at Gray, and I'm pretty sure Stem like snapped it out of his hand and shot him.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, but you find out the reason that Stem killed Aaron is because Stem wanted to be the only one, and he killed Aaron so that Aaron couldn't create another Stem. And then you get the cop is like pinned down, and Gray is there, and he's like fighting the machine, trying to regain his humanity, and he goes to shoot himself, and he fires, and you cut to white, and when you fade out of it, he's back in the hospital. Gray is back in the hospital, and his wife comes in and is like, we were in a car accident, you've been out for days. And it was kind of like a mislead, but I didn't buy it at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a Deadpool 2 situation where he did kill himself, and this was just his like version of heaven that you were seeing play out as he was dying. But that is not what happened. Did you fall for it?
No, I didn't think they were gonna do like it was all a dream, because it's a pretty like sophisticated dream.
Yeah, people would have been very upset if that turned out to be the... I bet this movie would not be very well liked if that turned out to be the ending.
Yeah. I thought too it was like his like heaven kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Which it kind of is.
Yeah, kind of. Except for he didn't actually die.
Yeah, when you snap back to reality, it turns out that Stem basically removed Gray from his own consciousness and placed him in an alternate reality, essentially, to where he's living out his own reality in his head. And then Stem's like, sometimes it's less painful to live in an alternate world. I just needed to wait for his mind to snap in order to get him there. Which brings back the whole VR thing.
Right.
And kind of ties everything together from the very start when Aaron's like, why would I ever let a robot do things for me? Why would I ever let your little widget do something for me when I could do it myself? And then now it comes back and it's like, that's exactly what's happening, is that he's letting the widget take over his life. And Stem shoots the cop and kills her. I didn't think that was going to happen, but he does. He just shoots the cop and kills her. And that's how the movie ends. He walks off. And
all
now,
robotic, like.
Yeah. Yep. And his voice has changed, so people will probably figure it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
it's now like Stem's voice.
It's Stem's voice, and Stem has 100% control over Gray's body and walks off, and that's how the movie ends on that note.
Yep. Reminds
me a lot of that movie Ex Machina, if you ever saw it.
Did not.
Did you ever see it?
No.
Not exactly how that movie ends, because there's no robot inside of someone's head in that movie, but it's a pretty similar ending.
Yeah, I really like the end. I always like when it's not your cookie cutter Disney ending.
Right.
He comes out of the dream and he's like, I have to beat Stem, and he beats Stem and saves the cop, and they walk off together.
You know,
I was maybe not walk off.
I didn't think that. Oh God! If he defeats Stem and then he's all paralyzed. I didn't think that was gonna happen. I thought what was gonna happen was he was gonna snap back, and then he was gonna point the gun at the cop or whatever, and you were gonna be like, oh God, he's taking control. But then he was gonna come back one last time to kill himself, and then that was gonna be how the movie end. Was with the cop down there in the basement shot with him just killing himself. And that's how Stem dies, is because he killed himself.
That would have still been a pretty dark ending, but...
Yeah, that's how I thought it was going to end. Because when it cut to that dream, that's kind of what I thought happened. And I thought when we were going to cut back to reality, he was going to be dead on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't happen, and so then I was like, oh, well now he's going to kill himself and we're going to see it. But again, it does not happen.
Yeah. Nope. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was a pretty dark ending. Yeah, I liked it.
Good stuff. Good
yeah.
stuff.
Anything that didn't work for you?
In this movie?
Yeah.
No. I think the soundtrack was pretty cool in this movie. It didn't blow me away.
Yeah, I don't remember it being standout,
but I thought it was I thought there was a lot of really cool parts, like specifically when Fisk shows up to kill Gray when he's paralyzed on the floor in the hacker's place. The song that was playing during that sequence was really intense, and I liked it. The special effects were awesome. The cinematography and directing was really well done.
Yep.
The acting I thought was all great, and I thought it was very well written. So I thought this movie worked on like every level.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
It would have ranked up there in my top 10 of the year for sure.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
I was thinking about that, and I didn't know if I would say top 10 of the year, but I might. Do I put it in my good category or my great category? I don't know.
I'd probably have to give Rampage the boot, obviously, because Rampage was my number 10, and insert... This would probably come right before Halloween, so it'd probably come like as my number 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought it was a great movie.
I mean, it's such a, like, the strength is that there's really nothing that doesn't work. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, there's some really good spots. There's nothing that's really, like, insane blow you away stuff. So it's kind of, like, tough to to put it somewhere, but since there's nothing that didn't work, it really like has to rank pretty high.
Right.
So, yeah, pretty good film.
Yeah, I don't remember where Incredibles 2 was, but it's probably the movie that comes at like higher rank than that.
Yeah.
For me. But yep. So that's Upgrade.
Yeah. Nice hefty amount of piss.
Yes.
Piss, good piss.
Yeah, I guess I did. I did too.
You also pissed.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I guess, yeah. Okay. I was gonna ask what the difference between piss and piddle is, but after thinking about it for 2 seconds, I realized.
Did you... I have 2 images that I could use. Did you pee the pool, or are you drowning in a pool of your pee?
Pee the pool.
I
You
peed
peed the pool.
I did not drown my own pee.
Insert 3 Cartman peeings here. Boom. See them on the screen?
Timestamp.
There they are.
There you go.
All 3 pottied in the pool.
Yes.
All right. So now we're going
Now
to talk
on to
about
the-
Upgrade.
A movie.
Back
We're
to
just gonna do it all
Upgrade.
over
I
again.
didn't
How long
even
was
say
this
that.
portion?
Close to an hour.
Oh, there you go. Now on to Mandy, a movie with the same plot as Upgrade, sort of. It's the same revenge plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Character arc, essentially. Well, in a way.
It's the same revenge plot. The framing is pretty similar, but everything else in the movie is... How do you even actually describe this movie?
This movie's fucking whack.
It
Yeah,
was
it is.
very unique, though.
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie like this before.
No.
No, well, because I've never tripped out before, so I guess I haven't either.
Man, you're missing out. Just kidding.
I think every movie would be like this movie if I was tripping out and watching any movie.
I do wonder if tripping out like on LSD is exactly like what this movie
was made for.
Yeah. Or
Clearly,
like
that's
what
what
it's
the
like to be on
director was.
LSD.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what the director was. Clearly, he was on some drugs.
Yeah,
when he
I
made
wonder
this.
if this is what you see when you're directing a movie on LSD.
Yeah.
Or if you're watching a regular movie on LSD, this is what you see.
Do you think someone actually wrote this movie, or do you think it was just like all in the moment? Because this movie doesn't feel like a movie with an actual story.
I feel like they just had a basic idea,
Yep.
and they were like, all right, here's what we're going to do, but
That's
really
exactly
artsy.
what I think. Yeah, because here's the thing with this movie is there's like 7 lines of dialogue. Like there's very
Yeah.
little talking. It's like-
Which makes it so much longer.
Yeah, I know. There's literally like one scene, which is probably my favorite scene in the movie, when Nick Cage goes and visits Mac from Predator. And I really thought that scene was cool. I think the atmosphere is really great. The dialogue's pretty interesting. You learn a lot. It's pretty cool. Other than that, there's like 2 lines of dialogue in this whole movie. There's like a weird part where they talk about planets, and then there's like the cult guy says stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The lighting is so weird.
The lighting is literally the selling point for this movie. It was
So-
made for this neon style.
Did you guys like this movie?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know.
Here's what I'll say, and we talked about this when we watched the movie. This is Godzilla vs. Hedorah, but an action movie, but like a horror action, I guess. Because like
I think it's a little more coherent than
It's-
Godzilla vs.
yeah.
Hedorah, but
I suppose, yeah, but it's got the same sort of like weirdly put together scenes with like random cuts to cartoons and
Yep.
that don't need to be there, and a whole bunch of weird visuals like fish heads in Hedorah, but in this movie it's just like literally the visual palette, the color palette.
mm-hmm.
I like this movie more than I liked Hedorah.
Yeah.
A lot more than I liked Hedorah, because
Yeah.
I don't like that movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think this is a movie that I'm gonna want to watch again.
I actually left it going, I almost immediately want to watch that again.
Here's what I'll say. I will say, actually, if you skip to the cult part, once the cult is introduced, that's when I'm down with this movie. That first 30 to 40 minutes
Yeah.
is so boring.
Yeah. Because, again, there's no dialogue. So
It's all visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, after an hour through, I asked how much more of the movie there
And
was.
you'd think there's like 30 minutes.
it's a whole nother
It's a
hour.
full
when you're
hour
halfway
left.
through it.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like 3 hours long.
It's the second hour of this movie that's the good part.
Yes.
The
for
first
sure.
hour of this movie is so slow and boring that I fell asleep.
The last half of the first hour is where we
It starts to get interesting, but it doesn't get interesting until the actual revenge stuff kicks off.
So we can sum up the first hour in basically like 5 sentences. Probably.
Right, you totally could.
Yeah.
I'll do it for you, okay? Ready? You got Red and Mandy. Interesting that our main protagonist in this movie, by the way, his name is
another color.
Just like Upgrades. But anyways, you got Red and Mandy, who are married. They're a couple.
Mm-hmm.
They live in the woods.
He's
a lumberjack.
He is.
He's a lumberjack. She's a hippie.
That's all you need to know about the characters. They live on the planet from the Predator, but it's not addressed until the end of the movie when it's still not addressed. All right.
That was one run-on sentence. Sentence 2.
All right, let me restart. We'll go with 5 sentences. I bet you I could get this in less than 5 sentences.
I bet I could do it in more.
I'll do it in less. Ready? Here's the first sentence. Okay. Red and Mandy are a married couple. Red is a lumberjack. Mandy's a hippie. A cult kidnaps Red and Mandy. The cult leader whips his dick out. Mandy dies. That's all you need to know about this first part of the movie. That's 5 sentences right there.
I think we need to talk more about the cult leader's dick.
I think we should talk about this a little more too.
Yeah. So they throw Mandy in this room.
Okay, well let's reverse a little bit, because I will say this movie gets good, or not good, but it gets interesting. There's this cool scene when it's like spiraling around Nick Cage's really weird room that he sleeps in, and as it's spiraling around, it like latches onto this light in the woods and zooms in on it, and then you see the cult leaders or the cult guys all illuminated by the red light, and that's when they get kidnapped, and that's when this movie really starts.
You know, I actually have to say that I think that this was filmed in a really interesting way, and I think that visually with the colors like taking over the full screen, this might be one of the most like aesthetically pleasing movies I've watched.
It looks really good.
I think it was a lot of fun to watch.
Poorly lit.
Right. That's the whole thing though. That's all this movie really has going for it is the visuals, because visually it's a really cool movie. The colors
What about the battle axe?
Okay, you got me there.
And Nicolas fucking
awesome.
Cage.
The colors are awesome. The way that it's shot is really interesting. The way that it's edited is pretty interesting. So if you're going to watch it from like a directing standpoint or something like that, like if you're going to watch it through the eyes of, I want to see great cinematography and very interesting camera work, then it's a pretty interesting movie. But what does this movie actually bring to the table? It's not as good as John Wick in terms of action sequences, and that's kind of what I'm comparing it to for whatever reason.
I don't know why. I don't think it's John Wick-ish. But...
It's not as good as Upgrade in terms of the revenge plot. This movie really doesn't bring anything to the table, I don't think, other than the colors.
I think that I don't know that it's fair to compare it with either of those, but
well, what else? What would you compare this to?
Nothing. Like I said, this is an extremely unique movie. I've never seen anything like this.
Yes, you have. It's just a generic revenge plot.
No, it's not, because generic revenge plots are like... Upgrade, to me, is a generic revenge plot.
But it's well done.
Someone killed my wife, I'm going to find out who killed my wife, and there's twists and turns in the end that lead me to find out something.
In this movie, there are no twists and no turns, so it doesn't even have that.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that, because I don't know. I'm not like into cults, but I think that they're interesting.
I think that they're interesting,
and so I thought this was a cool movie to me. I don't know, because it showed the cult dynamic, and I thought that was cool.
I'm just saying it doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. And I just watched Godzilla the Planet Eater, which has the main character of that movie, the bad guy. The whole thing of him is that he is a cult leader, and I think that was a little more well done. But I guess this movie I kind of watched at the perfect time because I'm kind of really into that right now because I just watched Planet Eater and I thought that was the most interesting part of that movie. So when I watched it, I thought the cult aspect of this movie was really interesting.
I just think that it was like...
It doesn't have a lot. It's kind of boring.
It was kind of like legit in terms of the cult, which is what I thought.
It was presented very well.
That's why I thought that this was so good, because it felt, to an extent, it felt realistic. And it was like, there are psychotic fucking people out there that are like these people in the cult. Like, this is a real thing that happens.
The cult feels realistic. Everything that happens with Nick Cage doesn't really, because, like...
Yeah, but it was fun to watch.
I guess. It can be. There was times when it just was kind of boring. He also wasn't as cool as I thought he was going to be. Like, he gets out this crossbow, and you're like, oh man, he's going to tear it up. And then he, like, shoots one guy with it, and it doesn't even kill the guy. He shoots two guys with it. Scratch that. He does shoot two guys with it.
I think we kind of ruined it by having to split up that ending into 2 bits. So you couldn't really, like, watch the full Nick Cage, like, raging on the cult. We had to wait almost, like, 20 hours before we watched it again.
Yeah, but the thing with it is, it's not even, like... It wasn't even the most, like, well-done slaughter scene. Like, it's not very fast-paced.
I don't think it needed to be. I didn't need to watch him kill one guy, turn around, kill another guy. Like, I had an example of something like that, but I can't remember what it is now.
It's more of like you're watching a slasher movie from from the killer's perspective, where the killer takes his time.
I don't know. I thought it was... I really enjoyed this movie, actually.
I figured you would. Well, you also, like, were into this movie months ago before anyone had...
I just saw the trailers, and I saw Nick Cage's face covered in blood and cults and stuff. And
you know
like,
what?
That looks fucking
the
wild.
The blood in this movie reminded me a lot of Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Which is... Because I pointed this out when we were watching the movie, and I think Upgrade is a gorier movie than this movie. But I think this movie has more blood than Upgrade. Or than... This movie has more blood than, like, most movies. Maybe Evil Dead.
Gorier? I don't know. I think
they don't show
it's
any...
not graphic.
Even when they cut the heads off, they don't show any, like, gore. They just show the decapitated head.
In this movie, it's not graphic.
There's that part where he slits that guy's throat open and it just pours blood down on him.
Yeah, but that's
bloody, not gory.
It's bloody, not gory.
I don't think either of these movies were gory.
There. It's also more comedical. It legitimately, the blood in this movie reminded me of Evil Dead 2, where it's like almost slapstick.
Yeah, like he throws the axe at the dude cleaning his car and it hits him in the head and the blood, and he falls down.
Yeah.
And you also get that really weird cut to the axe flying through the air out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Also, if you can't tell, we're not going sequentially for this movie because there's no point.
Yeah, basically it's just the first 5 sentences Derek says. Nick Cage goes home, freaks out, visits Mac from Predator. You really have to be specific in the way you say the fucking Predator movie
But they're
names.
living on the world of predators.
Which is never addressed, but...
Yeah.
But it's a fan theory that we've decided is not just a theory, it's actually true. It's confirmed.
And Mandy and Predator are linked.
100%.
Exactly.
Put that in the thumbnail.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll clickbait the Predator again.
No, predators. Not the Predator.
Yep.
Or
again, the character of Predator is what I'm clickbaiting. He will be the thumbnail.
He was the most viewed podcast.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Predator Podcast Part 2. We do it again. Yeah, and then Nick Cage, after he watches the cult burn his wife alive in a sleeping bag, very Jason style.
Yeah. Again, not as graphic as I thought it would be. It's more artsy, which is the whole thing with this movie.
Yeah.
It's done tastefully, I guess you could say.
Kyle and I were sure that Mandy wasn't actually in the sleeping bag and they just filled it with watermelons.
Yeah.
I think the debate's still out on that.
It could be, yeah, because
we see a skull,
but it fades.
It could have been the watermelon skull.
I thought maybe it was a fake out and they didn't actually burn Mandy and he was going to go on this big rampage, kill everybody and find Mandy alive. So they're burning it and we think, okay, there's probably just watermelons in there. And then it starts flailing around and we're like, okay, maybe it's still watermelons. and then it burns and
You see some
gets out.
teeth, and you're
Yeah.
like, it could still be watermelon.
So we think maybe in Mandy 2, Mandy comes back.
That's the title. The Return of Mandy.
And we find out that the sack was just filled with watermelons.
And that's because see, the skull blows away into dust in the real artsy shot.
And we don't actually know that that's Mandy's body.
But here's the thing, skulls don't turn into dust when they're burned. They're
Yeah.
stronger than that.
They are.
Which is how you know.
I know.
That's how you know.
I was
So
thinking
the
about
skull
that.
was made
Mandy
out of
is alive,
watermelons.
confirmed.
Yes.
Skull was made out of watermelons? Is that what you just said? The watermelons are made out of skulls. Sure. Yeah. No, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. And
Oh, you know what I did like?
the drugs. Them taking drugs all the time and their pupils getting real dilated and trippy visuals.
I hated that shot when Mandy comes up out of the water and it's like pitch black and it's like a dream that he's having and there's like the fire in front of him. But if you watch like her left eye, it like mutates and it's gross.
Yeah.
That was nasty.
Weird. So what do we miss?
all the
The troll.
Bunch of kills.
the macaroni troll. I looked at the writers for this, and the director did most of the writing.
Figures.
Okay, yeah.
There was one other writer, and then there was one writer credited specifically for the macaroni troll thing.
Oh my.
He probably specializes in ads or something.
He actually specializes in Adult Swim content, such as Too Many Cooks.
Oh.
Okay, that could make sense.
Yes,
I
that
can see
absolutely
Yep,
made
all
sense to me.
Yes. Why did they need that in here?
I don't know.
That was
I
weird.
thought it was funny.
It was funny, but it was weird.
I
But
still
I guess
wish
you
I
could
had
say
a cheddar
that
goblin.
about a lot of things in this movie. Why'd you need the random title cards in this movie? I don't know.
Oh my
It was
god, there was
weird.
like 3 title cards.
'Cause
The
this was-
last one was Mandy. An hour and a half in, you get the Mandy title card.
This easily could have been split into like a 3-episode limited series, and those would have been the sections of the movie.
Yeah.
I think it wouldn't have worked as well that way.
I don't either, but
Because that first episode, no one would make it past it.
And it was basically 2 movies because an hour in is when he finally.
right.
It was
just-
it was basically 2 movies, and the first one wasn't good. The second one was pretty alright.
Yeah.
The second one was good, I'll say. But the first one I didn't like.
Until the end.
I did like when he whipped his dick out.
Yes. That
Yes.
was a good scene. Where the cult leader whips his dick out and tries to jerk it on Mandy, but he
Yeah.
can't get it up.
Because she's laughing
'Cause she's
at him.
laughing at him.
She's laughing at him, and so he's
I think it's all self-conscious.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And then
Stop laughing!
that's why he kills her.
Probably, yeah, because
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, if you're looking for a movie with full male frontal nudity, this is it.
Yeah.
If you're
This
looking
is straight up like the only one I can think of that's not porn. And this
and
didn't
there is
even
porn in this movie.
Yes,
Yeah,
there
there
was
is,
porn in
yeah.
this movie.
You get like the pinhead dude watching.
Were they alright? We said they weren't demons when we watched the movie the first time, but like, are they?
They drink blood.
Well, they drink.
They're
blood,
on
they-
clearly the
well,
planet that they're
doesn't-
on is not Earth.
Doesn't
So
Mac
Roar.
explain like because isn't he talking about those guys when he's like, yeah, they get this LSD, but one time they
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
this special batch and they haven't been the same ever since.
Yeah, but like they roar and their voices are all.
I
changed.
think. Well, I mean,
that could be because Nick Cage decides for whatever reason to snort a whole bunch of coke and then do the LSD
But that's after-
himself.
that's after he already killed 2 of
Oh
those
no,
things.
yeah, that's right. He definitely hears the voices before he's on drugs.
There's
I
also
just I think maybe they just are insanely tripped out on like LSD and coke, and now they're like basically demons where they're like, we need to drink blood, even though they're still human. They think like, oh, we need to drink blood, and we're crazy now. And they do coke and watch porn all day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, that's the one thing in this movie that didn't work for me were the 3 like cult gods that
I
these
thought they
people were
pretty
worshiping.
Sweet.
Really?
I
I didn't
we
think they
learned enough
added
about
anything. They didn't make sense to me. I didn't
Well,
I
they were the
wasn't
badass
cold
guys that you know like took Mandy and.
Did I miss something? What?
What?
Cult gods?
The 3 monsters.
There was 3 of them.
The 3 like
there was
motorcycle monsters.
I thought there was more than that.
No,
There
just
was
3.
Gooey Face that he beats with the pipe and sends down the pit.
Okay.
There was porn addict Cokehead,
Mhm.
and there was
The one that.
the one staring into the fire that he lights his cigarette and gets high on the tobacco.
The one staring into the fire.
Yeah,
Is
he's
this
staring.
the one
There's
that
like
was,
cars.
that was
Starboard.
outside?
Yeah,
Yeah.
cars on
He cuts
fire.
his head
He's
off.
looking into the flames.
The one that, the one. What about the one that he hit with the car that flipped his car?
He didn't kill it. That was porn one.
Yeah.
I'm almost
But
positive
that
that's
one
like.
was riding off with two more. Remember, there was two other
know
guys
what?
on motorcycles riding off. I think there were more than just. I think there were more.
I think there were only 3 because we only ever saw 3. I think the guy that you are thinking about that he flipped his car survived.
But what about the other two guys on motorcycles? Remember, he's like
That would
scoping
make
them out.
3.
I think those. Are the
No,
same
but he
guy.
had already killed 2 of them by that point.
I don't think he did.
No. Yeah. What?
He kills the guy. He hits his car,
Yes.
flips it,
Yes.
kills the guy by cutting his head off.
No.
What?
He flips it, then they capture him.
Yeah. He shoots him with both of the arrows. Crashes his car into him. The car flips, but the monster disappears. And then they go take him.
So they were monsters.
They're just like cracked out.
Yeah,
They're basically monsters.
How did it survive a car hitting it? And how did the car flip if it wasn't
His
a monster?
sweet armor, pinhead armor.
Yeah, the motorcycle.
And then there's the
maybe?
one that he shoots in the neck with
It
the,
wasn't totally
an
clear.
arrow?
Oh
Yes,
yeah, and he
but
rips it through.
because he's high on tobacco.
Right.
That's because he's all cracked out.
Yeah.
The special LSD.
Huh.
He's like a zombie. Only his brain works if you kill him by. No.
Nick Cage has a cool battle axe.
Yep.
Yes, he does.
It
That he
does.
forges himself.
Yeah.
Yes, he
Because he's
does.
badass.
Yeah, he goes
He's
in,
wild.
He goes and gets his bow and arrow from Mac, but he only has 2 arrows, so he's like, well, I'm gonna need something more than that. And
So forges a
he
fucking
makes an
axe.
awesome axe.
Yeah.
And then he also gets a chainsaw at one point, which
Just
they
cool.
showed both chainsaws earlier in the movie.
Yep.
Behind Mandy in a store, or behind someone in a store.
And he does an epic Texas Chainsaw 2 chainsaw
yes,
battle.
there's a chainsaw fight. One of the chainsaws is way longer than the other one.
Of the 2 chainsaw battles I've seen in my days, this is my second favorite.
What's your first?
Texas Chainsaw 2.
Okay.
I don't.
There's no cowboy redneck in this one.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever seen that one, but at some
I'm not
point,
at this
at some point, we'll all watch that movie together because it's fucking wild. And
Yeah.
that they have an epic chainsaw battle in that for sure.
But this is where it's like very apparent that this movie is not gory, it's bloody. Because in a gory movie, you would have seen a much more graphic kill with the chainsaw rather than
Yeah.
him ghost riding the chain around the guy's neck and pulling him down onto it. And then you just see like an aerial shot of the guy, of the blood spraying out everywhere. Then there's that really weird scene when he goes to confront one of the cult members who's like all sympathetic towards him and is like, oh,
The
did
chick?
they? No, not her. It's like, it's the blonde guy who's like, did they harm you? This is my pet tiger.
Oh yeah. That one-
He's
that's
not a cult
weird.
member. He's the guy that makes the drugs.
Oh.
That's
yeah,
what he was
yeah.
doing in the lab. Was he was making
Is
the
that what that
drugs,
is?
and right as he walks in, he dips his finger in and tastes it, and his pupils dilate, and that's when he's like, speaks to the tiger, and he's like, "You're right. I should let him go," and he just like lets the tiger go. I almost forgot all about that.
I thought
scene.
that was
That was
like
a weird
him having a
sequence.
Out of
mental
nowhere.
conversation with Nick Cage, not the tiger.
He was talking to someone. I
I
don't
thought
know who
he
the
was
fuck he was
talking to
talking
Nick
to.
Cage. But does he die? Does Nick Cage kill him?
I don't think so. I don't ever remember seeing that guy die.
I don't think he does.
I'm pretty sure he just went to that guy to find out where the cult is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the guy tells him. And then he goes off to the cult where he kills all of them.
He kills that first dude by shoving the
Yeah.
other end of the axe down his throat.
Again,
That was
in a
pretty good.
gorier movie, you would have seen it come out the other side.
Yeah,
Which I'm not saying is like a problem. I just think like
I didn't think
I found it
was.
to be interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, but he kills the guy.
I thought that was a good kill, where he's just like spitting up blood.
Yeah. Oh, what happens? So then he doesn't kill the girl. He leaves the girl.
Yep.
For whatever reason. I would have killed her. He leaves her because whatever. He goes into like a weird underground basement thing.
Well, then he kills the dude at the car, and then he does the chainsaw, and then he goes
Oh,
to the
that's
underground
right.
bunker, and
And then he goes into an underground bunker
yeah,
with
and
like an extended 2-minute long sequence of him walking down a hallway.
yeah,
Very well shot again, but like again, it's all visuals. only.
What's wrong? If you say that the movie is like, it works on its visuals, but then you're like, oh, all this movie is visuals, but the visuals work.
They're
then
too long.
I don't.
That's the problem. They last too long.
I didn't have any issues with it. There were some points in the beginning of the movie where I was like, man, this is long. This is taking long.
I felt like it was just a little pretentious.
I never got pretentious out of it.
Like
there
it
are
was just
movies.
trying to show off.
There are movies that I think are pretentious. I don't think this one was made for the sake of being pretentious. I think that if it was, you wouldn't have had a cheddar monster show up in there. I'm pretty sure
that's true.
Or maybe the cheddar monster symbolizes something.
Probably does.
There's probably so much that we're missing.
Yeah, there's got to be like hidden text around and everything.
There
like
is.
under the dude's. Under Mac's bed, there was something written on there. That had to be something. And
I'll have to like watch a whole bunch of YouTube Easter egg videos about this movie if there are any.
There's one. This guy's talking about the ending shot where he's driving away and you see the two planets in the sky or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess it's supposed to be Red and Mandy's favorite planets that they were talking about.
Oh.
But then, like, some dude says that no one else noticed that it's the same vista as the book described that Mandy was reading. So it's like the book that she's reading is supposed to be like some symbol.
Gotcha.
There's probably a lot going on with this movie
but oh my god, there's probably so much. If we really wanted to,
if we really dive
AP
into
English
it,
this,
yeah. I'll suggest that. I'll be like, hey guys, I got a movie that we should watch.
You'll have to sign waivers for it.
Yeah, for real. I don't think that you can have that 5-minute extended shot of male dick just shown to the class. Yeah, that might be a little much.
Fly. But he'll assign it as homework. It's all right.
So Red goes into the bunker. He kills the old woman by decapitating her.
Right, that was really weird. Why is she down there? She just like lives down there, and she's like, "I'm the sex goddess." He's like,
they're just obsessed with that leader. That's what's so like cult about it.
Well, I get that. It was weird. Why was she living down there? I don't know.
I don't think it was weird.
I don't think they're living down there. I think it's their little worship church place.
I wish we got to know more about.
That was the God Church.
I wish we got to know more about like what he was worshiping. He says Nick Cage calls them Jesus freaks, but it does not feel like they're.
But he does say something about like how Jesus did something wrong because he didn't offer a human sacrifice or something.
Right at the end.
No, at the end of the first part, about an hour through.
Oh, is that when he says it?
Yes, because he's all tied up.
Yeah, when he's got Nick Cage with the barbed wire in his mouth.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
He's like, you know what Jesus did wrong.
That's right, because then he stabs him.
Yeah, and then he burns Mandy with the watermelons.
Yeah. So then Nick, there's this like really long conversation that the two of them have. It's not really a conversation because it's much more one-sided than a conversation where the cult guy just kind of rants to Nick Cage for a little while. That was pretty cool. I really liked the flashing red light in that weird like silo or whatever they were in.
Yeah.
It's just like their church. We'll just call it the church.
Underground church.
Yeah.
But it was underground, the underground church.
Okay, the church bunker. You know? It's really fucking weird. But
how did he build all that? Where did he finance that?
They just built it. Cults are crazy, man.
Yeah.
They got some dedication.
Remember when Dennis got them to rebuild his apartment? But
Nick Cage goes.
Yeah, down to the bottom. Has a
little
discussion with the cult leader.
Yeah, where all he pretty much says is, "I am your god now."
Yeah. Well, but he offers to suck his dick.
Oh, that's right.
Dick.
Yeah, Nick Cage gets the cult guy on his knees, and he's like begging and pleading. He's like, "I'll suck your dick if you want."
Is that what you want?
I feel like he'd be a biter though.
What's that?
He'd be a biter.
Probably.
He seemed like it.
And
I wouldn't have accepted that offer.
But then he like his cult mentality returns, and he's like, "You do not bow to me, I bow," or he's like, "I do not bow to you, you bow to me. Get on your knees and bow to me." And Nick Cage, Jason Voorhees, and just crushes the guy's head in, and like pops his eyeball out.
I was hoping he was going to do a Game of Thrones where he sticks his thumb.
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was going to develop superhuman strength all of a sudden.
It's the drugs, dude. He was on the tobacco.
Yeah. It's tough to crush anybody's skull, no matter how you do it. So
literally crushes the guy's skull and pops his eye out.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't like shatter it, so I guess it's a little bit more realistic, where he just kind of squeezes his head and his eyes pop out.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Kills him.
But he still kills him, like it's crushing him.
And lights the place on fire. He also killed that old lady by decapitating her and throwing her head at the cold guy.
Yeah.
You don't see the decapitation, but you know, because he throws
the head, yeah.
And then I think you get the best visuals of the movie when he walks out of the flaming church.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
I thought that was awesome.
And he leaves his battle
axe.
I
actually do think
he left his battle axe behind.
I said he could just make a new one because he's got the mold.
But I'm upset because it won't be the same.
It won't be the same.
You won't have the blood of the cult.
It won't be the one that he used.
He could probably go get it out. That thing is made
it's not gonna melt in regular flame.
Not.
Yeah.
So you could just go get it. If he could get to it. I mean, it was underground, I think. And
I'm pretty sure
it's all burnt. So he's gonna have to go through a lot to get it.
I think actually the coolest visuals were that weird Predator planet shot, which is the second Predator planet shot of the movie. This is just the first time that there are 3 planets up in the sky.
Well, some of my favorite shots were when he was like driving down the really thin roads and the trees were like
those were good too. A lot of the forest
really dense.
Yeah,
you just saw like the headlights and it was all like orangey and whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, those are really cool.
The reds looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the reds and maybe blues were probably the best colored things that they did. The oranges did never look as good to me, and
I thought they looked good. The green wasn't great, but that only ever flashed when they were holding up that rock.
Yeah.
The kryptonite.
Yeah, the kryptonite that makes you gay.
I don't know. I just thought that the flames coming through the cross in the end of that, it looked real cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that shot where Nick Cage throws the flame down and it sweeps across the room from left to right, like real slowly, and all you can see is his silhouette standing in front of it. I thought that was awesome too.
Yeah, it was a weird movie.
I don't really know who I'd recommend this to.
But I'd recommend it to someone.
If you like blank, then you might also like Mandy. I don't know who I'd recommend it to.
It's something that someone that has a really weird, artsy mind would like.
Yeah.
But I don't think I know anybody like that. I feel like you just have to watch this and see if you like it for yourself.
That's kind of what I think.
Jordan Vogt Roberts, who directed Kong Skull Island on Twitter, recommends this movie to everybody. So, if you like the weirdness of his movies but think they're not weird enough, this is probably your thing right here.
I liked it. I'm going to watch it again for sure.
I might.
It's so long
that's the problem.
It takes so long to get through. But
I might watch the last hour and a half and skip
call me when you get about an hour through. I'll join you.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, they're burning the watermelons. Come over.
But
I'm on my way.
You know what? I will watch that troll deleted scene, the full extended troll part.
Cheddar
On
monster.
a serious note, we will watch the one with Mac. The deleted scene in the trailer.
Yeah, the actual... I don't know why they cut that. That deleted scene was actually really good.
And it was only like a couple more minutes.
Yeah, it was only like... They only had like 4 extra lines, but those lines were like, should have actually been in the movie. Specifically when Nick Cage calls out the...
It's like, oh, just 2 fucking arrows? What am I going to do with that?
That's what I said. I was like, 2 arrows? What the hell?
That's how you know that it should have been in the movie, is because Alex literally said the exact same thing that Nick Cage's character says when we watch the theatrical cut, rather than when we watch the deleted scenes, when they actually have Nick Cage say it.
Yeah.
But I think they should have had that whole sequence in there, because I really liked that. That was my favorite part of the movie.
I think this... Let's see.
And then
I'm pretty sure this movie is like literally 2 hours exactly.
I think it is.
So,
it's like 2 hours, 1 minute, and 4 seconds, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I think that's what the count was. There's a post-credit scene, which is those last 4 seconds.
That's actually exactly how long it is, 121 minutes.
Hell yeah. And then the last 4 seconds are the post-credits, which you don't need to watch.
Yeah.
It's Mandy's paintings of Nick Cage.
Completely useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a shitty... I don't know what they could have done.
I'm so pissed that I had to sit through fast forwarding that.
They should have had the post credits be him driving down the street, and then he's like, "Oh shoot!" And then it just cuts back to him rolling up and going in and getting the battle axe out.
I think it should have just been a shot of the axe in the flames.
That would have been good, actually. That would have been
better than Mandy's drawings.
Yeah.
What if the post-credit scene was like Mandy still alive? She's like chained up. Or what if she was chained up in the church and she was burning, and Nick Cage accidentally burned her?
That would be
He
fucking
didn't know if he was
depressing.
alive. Yeah.
Man.
That would have been good. I would have done that. Mandy was actually trapped in the church that Nick Cage burnt down, and he had no idea. He killed her, and he had no idea.
I actually think it should have been, we don't know where Mandy is. We can save that for Mandy 2, Mandy Returns. But
no, Mandy 2 is the prequel to Mandy, and then Mandy 3 is the sequel to Mandy.
That's right.
Yeah.
You wait until the post-credit scene is the reveal that she's alive in the form of, you see the ashes or whatever from where her body was burnt, and then you see a sentient watermelon crawling its way over, going, "Mom, no!" That's how you know there was a water.
I thought you were gonna say Mandy shows up to where the ashes were, but I like that better.
Yeah, you see the little sentient watermelon, like, "Why did they burn my family?" And then that's how you
And
know.
then Mandy 4 is the watermelon.
Yes, a watermelon goes on a rampage. Blames Nick Cage, and there's a big fight at the end between Nick Cage and the son of the watermelon.
Oh my God.
Come on, Shudder, put us in. We'll make a whole franchise out of this.
Oh man.
Here's a serious question. Do you think they should make a sequel to either of these movies?
Upgrade, absolutely not. Don't fucking make a sequel to that. I will be absolutely pissed if they do.
I don't want to see a sequel to either of these.
Neither do I.
I
think that it could be interesting if Nick Cage starts a cult in a sequel to this.
I don't know. I don't see.
I don't think it needs it, but if they made one where Nick Cage were like a cult master, I'd be kind of into it.
I don't think I would. It wouldn't make sense.
And everyone's name in the cult is Mandy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so we can get that movie where every character's name is Mandy, I'm okay with that.
Did we mention that Nick Cage's acting was pretty good in this movie?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's only
quote on the quote from the playlist says Nick Cage gives the performance of a lifetime.
Right.
The performance of his lifetime, anyway.
And you really get that when
just a lifetime, so really anyone's lifetime.
You really get that when he's in the bathroom chugging down the vodka and he just starts screaming.
I like that scene a lot. It kind of conveyed
weird.
I thought that was the silliest scene of the movie.
I thought it conveyed the insanity of the situation pretty well. Like, what the fuck would you do if that happened? Maybe. I thought it made sense. He just goes home and downs some vodka and just screams. He doesn't know what to do. He's kind of losing it.
Probably do pretty much what he did without the part where I take all the drugs so that I'm always messed up like they are. Not sure how successful he would have been if he didn't take the drugs, but you never know. Maybe he would have been twice as successful. Maybe he would have done it in double time.
Yeah.
You never know. That's why you don't take drugs.
Exactly.
Because they could
slow down your murder rampage.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they could increase it. So either you're not as efficient in your murder rampage, or you're extremely efficient. So maybe you do take drugs.
I like to think that you're not as efficient because he didn't kill that girl.
Yeah, that's true. The drugs.
I don't know. Cocaine.
See, if he was off drugs, he would have killed her, and then he would have gotten a tactical nuke. But he didn't.
One short of the kill streak. The true tragedy of the film.
He was one off an attack chopper.
He almost had those.
That's how he knew where everybody was, because he got a kill streak. He got a UAV.
Yeah, that's right.
I think what should have happened is the movie ends when he's throws that decapitated head at that guy and walks, and he's like, bingo, finally got it. And then it cuts to those annoying, horrible, annoying balls from Black Ops 3 multiplayer that everyone hates when they
meatballs?
roll around and blow up.
Oh God!
Remember how annoying those
Or
things
the
are?
gunship, and he's like in a gunship now.
Yeah, it just teleports him up.
I think that-
130.
I think the movie should have just ended with the line, "I'll suck your dick."
Oh, and then it
He's
cuts
just like,
to
"I'll
black.
suck your cock."
Post-credit scene.
Oh, you know
is
what?
the
I was
cult
gonna
leader sucking
say.
his tennis.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
It's like
the
halfway
soundtrack
across
in
the
this
room.
movie is- the soundtrack in this movie is pretty good.
I thought it
It
was
was pretty good, yeah.
fantastic. I
Reminds
was
me a lot
real
of,
into it.
Halloween 3.
I don't know what it reminded me of. Probably Stranger Things a little bit, but
I can see that.
it had like that good synthy sound.
Which, Stranger Things,
I was
the
real
soundtrack
into it.
reminds me also of Halloween 3.
Okay. All right.
So there it's all connected once again.
It's just an 80s horror soundtrack is what it is. It's
When does
just
this
like
movie take place?
synth, like 84 or something like that.
It
83.
does take place in the 80s.
Yeah. I'm pretty
That
sure.
was really important that they did that so that we got the... Why?
Why did it take place in the 80s?
It didn't really matter when this movie took place.
Because that's kind of when cults were a thing. I can't think of very many modern cults.
Scientology.
Okay, yeah, you got me there.
That's it.
But
there more?
other than that,
That's all I can think of.
There's a whole bunch of them, though, I think.
There probably is, but people are smarter now
yeah,
than to join cults.
Yeah.
this
They're dabbing and eating Tide Pods and
Dabbing.
doing all the smart stuff now.
Do you
not
mean like
joining the
dabbing,
cults.
like taking dabs, or like physically like
Both?
dabbing with, okay.
yeah, cults were very much a like 70s, 80s things.
Because since they were new, and people didn't understand them, and it was just like, oh, it's such a religion, but no, it's actually a cult. But now people are smarter than that. They're like, no, that's a cult.
Yeah.
Darn, they made it so much harder for us nowadays.
Well, but Scientology's done it. And they're pretty big. So.
That's true.
We'll figure something out.
What if
boys.
the sequel is Nick Cage's son, and he has a new wife, also named Mandy, but the son is also played by Nick Cage, but it's in modern day, and now he's taking on Scientology.
Oh my god.
That'd
I don't
be
think
epic.
Scientology...
And the epic boss battle is Tom Cruise. Yep.
Well, click the link below if you'd like to join the extremely low budget cult.
That's the link below. What does it take him to? Your channel again?
It's just a subscribe button.
Why is it below? Why isn't it in the middle of the screen?
It's both. It's in both.
Oh, are we doing that now?
Do you have
Do you
more
have
to say?
questions?
Oh, we forgot to
Questions. Yeah, I was
piddle.
gonna say,
yeah, we
I-
forgot to
Oh,
piddle.
okay.
I kind of piddled for this movie, I guess.
I do remember mentioning piddling a little bit of cum there.
Oh, yes, you did say that.
On the... Yeah, if you want some full male nudity, this is your movie. If you want some full female nudity, the cartoons in this movie have you covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hentai Haven may be gone, but Mandy is out there.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't. I hardly piddled.
I urinated multiple colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a little here and there.
I hardly piddled, but it was like purple this time rather
Or
than
red.
yeah,
might be-
red probably.
It's more concerning, pissing red or purple.
Red.
Red.
Yeah, but purple is like, what the fuck is that?
Purple, I just assume I ate something really weird. Red, I'd be like, I should probably go to the doctor about this. I might have, like, herpes. I don't know if herpes is the
You
one.
heard it here, folks. Herpes make your pee purple.
Red. Like blood. I think that there's something real wrong. I don't know. Purple, I wouldn't. I don't know what the fuck I'd think
What's
if
the
I
worst
pissed
color you can
purple.
urinate? Red?
Dark brown.
Dark brown.
Yeah, probably.
That just means that you're dehydrated.
A thick
You
dark
need
brown.
to drink. Thick. It's like comes out as a clump. Ugh.
It's like a ball that just
Like
like.
it's like syrup.
Oh, God.
That'd be the worst. I hope you enjoyed this part of the podcast.
Yeah. This is a surprise if you stayed till the end. Here it is.
I forgot we
Dirty.
announced the surprise at the end.
Yeah.
Alright, and our 10,000 V-Buck giveaway goes to the first commenter.
Rice Gum. Congratulations, Rice Gum. You've won 10,000 V-Bucks.
Oh, except for I redeemed that code in November. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, well.
Our bad.
Anyway, did you watch Mandy or Upgrade, and did you enjoy them? Is the question.
Was Upgrade better than Venom? Yes. Yes, it
the
was.
answer is yes.
And how many aliens out of 10 predators would you give Predator 2.
Always comes back to Predator 2. I still think that there's a conspiracy looming in this somewhere, that everything we've talked about on the podcast is somehow connected to each other.
You're going to have to, like, map it out. If you map it out before the next episode, I'll be proud of you.
It's going to be the Pepe Sylvia on the wall.
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it.
Can you find a way to connect Upgrade to Mandy? Or, like...
the revenge plot.
Well, no, I mean, like through
Like,
the characters. Like,
like
it looks like Tom
afterwards.
Hardy. Tom Hardy's in Venom.
You know who else
gotta
is in
keep
Venom?
linking the videos.
Probably someone who's been in a movie with Nick Cage at one point.
Yeah, well, it has to be things we've talked about on the podcast. I vote. I still think that we could connect, like, almost all of them. Your Godzilla movie is probably the outlier, because I don't know how anything could possibly be
Random
connected to that.
cartoons, it's already connected to Mandy.
Well, yeah, I guess in that sense.
There you go. That's the only connection you need.
Godzilla 154, please figure it out. How is every episode connected?
He won't.
Spencer Mealy. I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
I don't either. Spencer.
My boy.
That's
Solved
awesome.
it.
What's his address?
No.
Somebody swat Godzilla 150 until he answers our question.
You should have watched till the end.
He totally won't. If he watches till this point, he needs to comment.
Rubber baby bubby bunkers.
Yes.
Okay.
Rubber baby bubby bumpers. I can't remember which one he says.
I don't think he says either. I think you're just guessing.
It's from Last Action Hero.
I know it is, but it's pretty similar to what he says. All right, if Godzilla 154, if you're still watching this point, if you're still watching this point at this point, comment your fastest speed run on Spyro the Dragon.
You have a lot of homework to do, Godzilla 154. This is an intense episode
you're
for
in
you.
school, but if you are, we gave you some extra homework.
He's in
This is
school.
pretty important.
Yeah, he says he watches the podcast when he does his schoolwork. So.
Oh, okay. Fair. Yeah.
And that's the podcast. Click on this middle button to subscribe.
Join the cult.
Yes. Click on
Extremely
this.
low budget cult.
Yeah, you see this button on the side, and you're like, what does that do? Oh, well, that's the playlist for all the podcast episodes. Oh, what's this button on the other side do? Silly goose. It's last week's episode where we ranked the top 10. We ranked every movie that we saw in 2018.
Right.
That took a lot of editing to do, by the way.
Did it?
Thanks.
Yeah. So,
Thanks
thank
for
you all for
appreciate it.
watching.
Thanks for extending the outro. So
Yeah.
now it's not 20 seconds, it's more than that.
Roasted. Bye.